Commander Hyun-woo stared at the stars rushing past his ship's windows. The Soul's pride cut through space faster than any ship should be able to move. But for humans, this was normal. They had been traveling this way for 50 years, ever since. They figured out how to bend space around their ships. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. Hyun-woo's crew worked at their stations, checking systems and watching for anything unusual. They were on a simple mission: explore 3 star systems near the edge of human space and look for planets that might be useful later. "Sir, we're coming up on the first target system," said Lieutenant Minnie from her navigation station. "Should I drop us out of faster-than-light travel?" "Yes, take us to normal speed," Hyun-woo replied. He had done this kind of mission dozens of times. It was routine work, but someone had to map the empty space around Earth's growing territory. The ship slowed down, and the stars stopped moving. In front of them was a yellow star with several planets orbiting around it. Nothing looked special about this system. The planets were too hot or too cold for humans to live on without special equipment. "Start the deep scans," Hyun-woo ordered. "Check for useful minerals, water, or anything else worth noting." While his crew worked, Hyun-woo didn't know that 300 light-years away, something was watching. The Galactic Empire monitoring. Station hung in empty space like a metal mountain. Inside, thousands of aliens worked to watch every ship that moved through their territory. They had been doing this job for over 2,000 years. Nothing moved in space without them knowing about it. Senior analyst Kythara had 4 arms and skin that changed color based on her mood. Right now, her skin was a calm blue as she watched her screens. She was good at her job and proud of keeping the Empire safe from threats. Then her screen flashed red. "What is this?" she muttered, leaning forward. Her skin started turning yellow, with confusion. The computer was showing her something impossible. A ship was moving through space at incredible speed, but it wasn't using any known type of engine. She ran the scan again. The results were the same. The ship was moving faster than anything in the Empire's database. It was also using energy in a way she had never seen before. "Computer, identify this vessel," she said. "Unable to identify. Ship design not found in any database. Energy signature unknown. Construction materials unknown." Kythara's skin turned orange with worry. In all her years of watching space, she had never seen the computer fail to identify a ship. Every ship in the galaxy was registered with the Empire. Every species that could build ships was known and catalogued. She called her supervisor. "Admiral Velthar, I have something you need to see immediately." Admiral Velthar was a Kronar, one of the warrior species that helped keep order in the Empire. He had 6 legs and armor-like skin that made him look like a walking tank. When he arrived at Kythara's station, his red eyes showed concern. "Show me," he growled. Kythara pointed at her screen. "This ship appeared 20 minutes. Ego, look at its speed." Velthar's eyes widened. The ship was moving at least 3 times faster than the Empire's fastest vessels. "Are you sure this reading is correct?" "I've checked it 5 times. The ship is real, and it's moving that fast." "Where did it come from?" Kythara's skin turned pale green. "That's the problem, sir. According to our tracking, it came from the Sol system." Velthar made a sound like grinding metal. The Sol system was marked in their databases as empty space. No intelligent life, no technology, nothing worth paying attention to. The Empire had sent a probe there 800 years ago and found only primitive animals on the 3rd planet. That's impossible. There's nothing in Sol except animals. "I know, sir. But the computer tracked the ship's path backward. It definitely came from that direction." Velthar studied the data. The ship's energy readings were unlike anything he had ever seen. It seemed to be bending space around itself, but in a way that was completely different from Empire technology. "Send a squadron to intercept," he ordered. "Sir, the ship is moving too fast. By the time our ships reach that location, it will be gone." As if to prove her point, the mysterious ship suddenly vanished from their screens. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. "Did it explode?" Velthar asked. "No, sir. It just left." The energy signature disappeared, as if the ship stopped existing. Velthar's claws scratched against the metal floor. In his 300 years of military service, he had never encountered anything like this. Ships didn't just disappear. Ships didn't move faster than physics allowed, and ships definitely didn't come from empty star systems. "Send a message to Command. Priority 1. Tell them we have detected an unknown vessel with advanced technology. Origin unknown. Capabilities unknown. Current location unknown." Kythara's fingers danced over her controls, sending the message through the Empire's communication network. Within hours, it would reach the capital world, where the Empire's leaders would have to decide what to do about this mystery. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Hyunwoo finished his survey of the first star system. His ship's computers had found some useful metal deposits on one of the rocky planets, but nothing worth setting up a mining operation. "Set course for the second system," he told his crew. "We'll check that one and then head home." The Soul's pride slipped back into faster-than-light travel. Space bent around the ship like water flowing around a stone. To the crew, it felt like they were standing still while the universe moved around them. None of them knew that their simple exploration mission had just triggered the biggest crisis in galactic history. Back at the monitoring station, Admiral Velthar paced back and forth. His heavy footsteps echoed through the control room. Other analysts had confirmed Kythara's readings. The unknown ship was real, and it was unlike anything they had ever seen. "Sir," said another analyst, "I've been checking our long-range sensors. There might be more ships out there." Velthar stopped pacing. "What do you mean?" "I'm detecting faint energy signatures from several star systems near Sol. The readings are very weak, but they match the unknown ship's energy pattern." The Admiral's blood ran cold. One unknown ship was a curiosity. Multiple ships suggested a civilization they knew nothing about, a civilization with technology that made the Empire's fleet look primitive. "How many ships?" he asked. "It's hard to tell, sir. At least a dozen, maybe more." Velthar realized that the Empire faced something they had never encountered before, an unknown species with superior technology. The thought terrified him. For 2,000 years, the Empire had been the strongest force in the galaxy. No one could challenge their power. Now it seemed that might be about to change. He opened a communication channel to the Empire's capital. "This is Admiral Velthar at Monitoring Station 12. I need to speak with the High Command immediately. We have a situation that could affect the security of the entire Empire." As he waited for the connection, Velthar wondered who these mysterious beings were and what they wanted. More importantly, he wondered if the Empire was ready to face them. In the depths of space, the Soul's Pride continued its peaceful mission, unaware that it had just announced humanity's presence to a galaxy that was about to panic. The news spread through the Empire like fire through dry grass. Within 12 hours, every major military base knew about the mysterious ship. Within 24 hours, the Empire's ruling council was holding emergency meetings. Within 48 hours, panic was setting in. Chief Engineer Min Ho didn't know about any of this. He was busy fixing a power coupling on the Busan Runner, a human cargo ship that was hauling supplies to a mining colony 3 systems away from Earth. The ship was old but reliable, and Min-ho took pride in keeping it running smoothly. "Hey, Min-ho," called Captain Yong-soo from the bridge. "We're getting some strange readings on our sensors. Looks like someone is following us." Min-ho wiped his hands on a cloth and made his way to the bridge. Through the main window, he could see the distorted star field that showed they were traveling faster than light. But on the sensor screen, he could see 3 ships keeping pace with them. "Empire vessels," Yong-soo said. "They've been following us for an hour. They're not answering our communication attempts." "Maybe they're just curious," Min-ho suggested. "We don't see many Empire ships out here." What they didn't know was that these Empire ships were part of a secret mission. The crew had orders to observe human technology and report back to their commanders. The Empire needed to understand how human ships worked. Commander Zektar watched the human ship from his bridge. He had been in the Empire Navy for 60 years and had seen every type of vessel in the galaxy. But this human ship confused him. It was moving faster than it should be able to, and its energy readings made no sense. "Are you recording everything?" he asked his science officer. "Yes, sir. But I don't understand what I'm seeing. Their engines aren't producing the energy signature they should for this speed." "What do you mean?" The science officer, a thin alien with large eyes, shook his head. "Sir, according to our instruments, they should be using 10 times more energy to move this fast. But they're barely using any energy at all." Zektar frowned. "Check your instruments." "I have, sir. Multiple times. The readings are correct." On the human ship, Min-ho was getting worried about their followers. He decided to test the ship's defensive systems, just in case. He activated the ship's shield generators and ran a quick diagnostic. The moment the shields came online, alarms started screaming on all 3 Empire ships. "What just happened?" Zektar shouted. "Sir, the human ship just activated some kind of defensive system. But this is impossible. Explain." The science officer's voice shook with fear. "Sir, their shields just absorbed all the energy from our sensor beams and converted it into power for their ship. Our scans are actually making them stronger." Zektar felt his blood turn cold. Shield technology that could absorb enemy energy was theoretical. The Empire's best scientists said it was impossible to build. Yet here was a simple human cargo ship doing it like it was nothing special. "Sir," another officer called out, "the human ship is changing course. They're coming toward us." Captain Yong-soo had decided to find out what the Empire ships wanted. He changed course and approached them slowly, making sure his weapons were powered down to show peaceful intent. Min-ho watched the sensors as they got closer to the Empire ships. "Their shields are pretty basic," he commented. "Old technology. I bet they can't even adjust frequency." He was right. The Empire ships were using shield technology that was hundreds of years old compared to human standards. To the humans, they looked primitive and fragile. Captain Yong-soo opened a communication channel. "Empire vessels, this is Captain Yong-soo of the human ship Busan Runner. Can we help you with something?" Commander Zektar didn't know what to say. His orders were to observe, not to make contact. But now the humans were talking to him directly. "Human. Vessel," he said carefully. "We are conducting routine patrol operations in this area." "Understood," Yong-soo replied. "We're just passing through. Is there anything we should know about?" "No. Carry on with your journey." But Zektar couldn't resist, asking a question. "Human vessel, may I ask about your propulsion system?" Our science officer is interested in how you achieve such efficient travel. Min Ho and Yong Su looked at each other. The question seemed innocent enough. We use spacefold technology, Min Ho said over the communication channel. We bend space around our ship instead of pushing through it. It's much more efficient than linear thrust systems. The science officer on Zektar's ship nearly fell out of his chair. Spacefold technology was pure theory. The Empire's best minds had worked on it for centuries without success. The mathematics alone were so complex that their computers couldn't solve them. How do you solve the dimensional stress equations? The science officer asked before Zektar could stop him. Min Ho laughed. We don't solve them. We just let the computer handle the math. The AI calculates everything in real time and adjusts the field as needed. The Empire aliens looked at each other in shock. The humans had artificial intelligence advanced enough to solve problems that stumped the Empire's greatest scientists. They were dealing with technology that was centuries ahead of their own. Thank you for the information, Zektar said weakly. Safe travels. The human ship moved away, slipping back into faster-than-light travel with ease. The three Empire ships were left floating in space, their crews trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Meanwhile, on a secret research station hidden in an asteroid belt, Dr. Sujin was monitoring Empire communication channels. She was a human xenobiologist who had been studying alien civilizations for years. Her job was to keep track of what the other species in the galaxy were doing. What she was hearing now made her very worried. The Empire's military channels were full of reports about human ships. They were calling human technology impossible and beyond their understanding. Some reports suggested that the Empire was considering humans a potential threat. Sujin immediately sent a message to Earth's government. We have a problem. The Empire has noticed us, and they're scared. We need to be very careful about how we handle this. On the Empire's capital world, the ruling council was in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species argued about what to do about the humans. Some wanted to establish peaceful contact. Others wanted to study human technology. A few were talking about military action. Councillor Raxthon, leader of the militant hegemony faction, slammed his fist on the table. We cannot allow an unknown species to possess technology superior to ours. They could conquer the entire empire. We don't know that they want to conquer anyone, argued Councillor Lin Ara from the Merchant Coalition. They might be willing to trade their technology. What if they demand too high a price? Asked Councillor Vordan from the Spiritual Conclave. Some knowledge is too dangerous to share. The argument went on for hours. None of them had any real information about human intentions or capabilities. All they knew was that human technology was far beyond their own. Back in human space, Captain Yong-Su and Engineer Min-Ho continued their routine cargo run, unaware that their simple conversation had sent shockwaves through the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. The Busan runner delivered its cargo without incident and returned to Earth. But the data collected by the Empire ships was already on its way to the highest levels of alien government. The Empire's top scientists studied the information about spacefold technology. They tried to understand how humans had solved problems that had puzzled them for centuries. The more they learned, the more worried they became. Dr. Kelthara, the Empire's leading physicist, wrote a report that terrified the military leadership. Based on the limited data available, human technology appears to be at least 500 years ahead of our own. If they have military applications for this technology, our fleet would be unable to defend against them. The report sparked more emergency meetings. Military leaders wanted to know if the Empire could defend itself against human ships. The answer was not encouraging. Admiral Kix Andra, head of the Empire's fleet, was blunt in her assessment. If humans can bend space around their ships, our weapons might not be able to hit them. If they can absorb energy from our attacks, they could turn our own power against us. We need to assume that in a direct conflict we would lose. The room fell silent. For the first time in 2,000 years, the Empire faced a potential enemy they couldn't defeat. As news of human technology spread through the Empire's worlds, fear began to take hold. Stock markets crashed as investors worried about the future. Some planets began demanding stronger defenses. Others started talking about surrender before any conflict could begin. The Empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was learning what it felt like to be afraid. Captain Jae-sung stood on the bridge of the Incheon's Hope and read his orders for the third time. Earth's government had decided it was time for official first contact with the Galactic Empire. After monitoring their communications and seeing their growing panic, human leaders felt it was better to talk than to let fear build up. "Navigator Yuri, set course for the coordinates in these orders," Jae-sung said. "Looks like we're going to make history today." Yuri was young but experienced. She had trained for first contact situations, though she never expected to actually use that training. "Course laid in, Captain. We'll reach the meeting point in 6 hours." The Incheon's Hope was Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel. It looked peaceful on the outside, but it carried all of humanity's latest technology. The ship could defend itself if necessary, but Jae-sung hoped it wouldn't come to that. 300 light-years away, Ambassador Zixandra was preparing for the most important meeting of her career. She was the Empire's best first contact specialist, with over 2 centuries of experience dealing with new species. But she had never dealt with anyone like the humans. "Ambassador," said her aide, "the fleet is ready to depart." Zixandra looked out at the ships gathering around her vessel. 12 of the Empire's most advanced warships, along with her diplomatic cruiser. It was standard procedure to bring a show of force when meeting a new species. Most primitive civilizations were impressed by the display and became more cooperative. "I still think this is too many ships," she said. "The reports suggest that humans have advanced technology. They might see this as threatening." "The High Command insists on following protocol," her aide replied. "Besides, our ships are just for show. We're not planning to fight anyone." Ambassador Zixandra had read all the reports about human technology. Their ships were faster than anything the Empire could build. Their shields could absorb energy attacks. Their engines worked on principles that Empire scientists didn't understand. She was beginning to think that bringing warships to intimidate humans was like bringing a knife to a gunfight. But orders were orders. The fleet entered hyperspace and headed for the meeting point. Captain Jae-sung arrived first. The meeting place was an empty star system halfway between human and Empire space. His sensors detected no threats, so he settled in to wait. "Captain," Yuri called from her station, "I'm detecting ships approaching. Lots of them." Jae-sung frowned. "How many?" 13 ships total. One appears to be a diplomatic vessel, but the other 12 are definitely warships. "So much for a peaceful first meeting," Jae-sung muttered. He had hoped the Empire would send a simple diplomatic mission. Instead, they were bringing enough firepower to destroy a small planet. "Should we call for backup?" asked Lieutenant Tae-ho from the weapons station. "No," Jae-sung said. "We'll handle this ourselves. But bring our defensive systems online. If they want to play games, we'll be ready." The Empire fleet dropped out of hyperspace in a perfect formation. The warships spread out in a circle around the diplomatic vessel, their weapons powered but not aimed at the human ship. It was meant to look impressive and slightly threatening. Ambassador Zixandra studied the human vessel on her screens. It was smaller than she expected, about the size of an Empire escort ship. It looked sleek and modern, but not particularly dangerous. She began to feel more confident. "Open a communication channel," she ordered. "Human vessel, this is Ambassador Zixandra of the Galactic Empire. I greet you in the name of peace and cooperation." Captain Jae Sung smiled. At least they were being polite. "Ambassador, this is Captain Jae Sung representing Earth and all human colonies. We're happy to meet with you." "Captain, I suggest we proceed with standard first contact protocols. We will share basic information about our civilizations and discuss the possibility of formal relations." "That sounds reasonable," Jae Sung agreed. "However, I should mention that your escort fleet is making my crew nervous. We came here for peaceful talks." Zixandra felt a moment of embarrassment. "I apologize, Captain. The fleet is here for ceremonial purposes only. It's traditional for the Empire to show our strength when meeting new species. I understand. But perhaps your ships could power down their weapons as a sign of good faith." This put Zixandra in a difficult position. Powering down weapons was not part of the protocol, but the human request seemed reasonable. "Very well," she said. "Fleet Commander, power down all weapon systems." The Empire warships dimmed their weapon signatures, but Captain Jae Sung was still worried. 12 warships was a lot of firepower, even with weapons powered down. His ship's computer was analyzing the Empire vessels and didn't like what it found. "Captain," Yuri said quietly, "our computer is detecting weapons that could threaten us even when powered down. Should I activate our defensive protocols?" Jae Sung thought about it. Earth's defensive technology was automatic. If the computer detected a threat, it would protect the ship without being asked. But activating it manually might send the wrong message. "Keep it on standby," he decided, "but be ready to activate it if anything goes wrong." Ambassador Zixandra began the formal first contact ceremony. She transmitted basic information about the Empire, its size, its history, its government structure. The data package was designed to impress new species with the Empire's power and ancient wisdom. Captain Jae Sung transmitted Earth's response. Human history was much shorter than the Empire's, but their technological achievements were impressive. The data included information about faster-than-light travel, energy manipulation, and advanced artificial intelligence. As the Empire's computers analyzed the human data, alarms began sounding throughout their fleet. "Ambassador," the fleet commander called urgently, "we have a problem. The human data describes technology that shouldn't exist. Our computers can't even understand half of these principles." Zixandra felt a chill of fear. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that everything we thought we knew about physics might be wrong. These humans have technology that makes our fleet look like primitive ships from the Stone Age." The fear in the fleet commander's voice carried over the open communication channel. Captain Jae Sung could hear the panic in the alien voices. "Is there a problem, Ambassador?" he asked. "No problem," Zixandra said quickly. "We're just impressed by your technological achievements." But the damage was done. The Empire fleet was now fully aware that they were facing a superior force. Some of the ship captains began to panic. Without orders, 3 of the warships suddenly powered up their weapons and targeted the human vessel. The Incheon's Hope's computer detected the threat instantly. The ship's defensive systems activated automatically, surrounding the vessel with an energy field that made it partially exist outside normal space. The Empire's targeting computers lost their lock immediately. What just happened? Zixandra demanded. The human ship just vanished from our sensors, the fleet commander reported. It's still visible, but our computers can't target it. It's like it's not completely there anymore. Captain Jae-sung sighed. The situation was getting out of hand. Ambassador, I'm afraid your ships just threatened my vessel. Our defensive systems have activated automatically. I apologize, Captain. Some of my fleet commanders are nervous. Can you deactivate your defenses? I'm afraid not. Our computer has classified your fleet as a potential threat. The defenses will stay active until the threat is removed. This was not going the way Zixandra had planned. Standard First Contact Protocol called for the Empire to demonstrate superior power, forcing the new species to negotiate from a position of weakness. Instead, the humans had just demonstrated that the Empire's entire fleet couldn't touch their ship. Captain, she said carefully, perhaps we could ask your ship's computer to reconsider. We mean you no harm. I believe you, Ambassador, but my computer doesn't trust your fleet. Let me demonstrate why. Captain Jae-sung nodded to Lieutenant Tae-ho. Fire a single warning shot. Low power, no damage intended. The human ship fired, a beam of energy that passed through the Empire fleet's shields like they weren't there. The beam struck one of the warship's armor plating and left a perfectly round hole. No explosion, no fire, just a clean hole that went completely through the ship without damaging anything else. The Empire fleet went silent. Their best shields had been useless. The human weapon had somehow passed through solid matter, like it was empty space. How is this possible? Zixandra whispered. Navigator Yuri answered politely. Our weapons can shift between dimensions, Ambassador. We can choose what they affect and what they pass through. In this case, we only affected your armor plating, Vahai. Implications hit the Empire fleet like a physical blow. The humans could shoot through their shields, through their armor, through anything they wanted. They could destroy any ship in the fleet without the ship's defenses even slowing them down. Ambassador, the fleet commander's voice was shaking, recommend immediate withdrawal. We are completely outgunned. But Zixandra knew that running away would only make things worse. The Empire needed to salvage something from this disaster. Captain Jae-sung, she said, I think we need to start these negotiations over. Clearly, we underestimated your capabilities. I appreciate your honesty, Ambassador. Perhaps we could try a different approach. How about we meet with just our 2 ships? Your fleet could withdraw. Spy Master Cordine sat in his dark office deep inside the Empire's intelligence headquarters. The walls were covered with screens showing data from across the galaxy. For 300 years, he had been the Empire's eyes and ears, watching for threats and opportunities. But he had never faced anything like the human problem. The reports from Ambassador Zixandra made disturbing reading. A single human ship had made the Empire's entire first contact fleet look like children playing with toys. Their weapons could pass through any defense. Their shields could make them untouchable. Their technology was so advanced that Empire scientists couldn't even understand the basic principles. Cordain's species had 8 arms and could work on multiple tasks at once. Right now, he was using all 8 arms to coordinate the largest intelligence operation in Empire history. He needed to know everything about humanity, and he needed to know it fast. Send stealth probes to the Sol system, he ordered his subordinates. I want to know what we're dealing with. Use our most advanced reconnaissance technology, but be careful. If the humans can detect us, they might see it as an act of war. The Empire's stealth probes were marvels of technology. They were invisible to most sensors and could slip through space undetected. The probes launched from hidden bases and began the long journey to human space. On Earth, Intelligence Officer Yunji was having her morning coffee when her computer alerted her to incoming objects. She worked for Earth's external intelligence service, monitoring space around the solar system for potential threats. Computer, identify those objects, she said. Analysis complete. Objects appear to be stealth reconnaissance probes. Design consistent with Galactic Empire technology. Current trajectory suggests they intend to survey the Sol system. Yunji smiled. The Empire was trying to spy on humanity, but their stealth technology was about 50 years behind human detection systems. She could see the probes as clearly as if they were broadcasting their location. Should we destroy them? Her computer asked. No, Yunji said. Let them look around, but make sure they only see what we want them to see. Earth's intelligence services had prepared for this possibility. They had plans for what to show alien observers and what to keep hidden. The goal was to demonstrate human capabilities without revealing everything. The Empire probes entered the Sol system and began their survey. What they found amazed and terrified them. Earth itself was a blue and green jewel covered in cities that glowed with clean energy. The planet showed no signs of pollution or environmental damage despite supporting 12 billion people. Orbital elevators connected the surface to massive space stations. The moon had been turned into a mining and manufacturing center, but it was the other planets that really shocked the probe operators. Mars was green. Where there should have been a cold, dead world, the probes found forests and lakes and cities. The entire planet had been terraformed into a garden world that rivaled Earth itself. Venus, hidden behind thick clouds, revealed floating cities in its upper atmosphere. Millions of humans lived in the sky, harvesting energy from the planets, intense heat, and using it to power their civilization. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter had been turned into the largest industrial complex the probes had ever seen. Massive factories processed raw materials and built everything from starships to household goods. The scale was beyond anything in the Empire, and everywhere there were ships. Human vessels moved between the planets carrying cargo and passengers. The probes detected at least 300 ships in the system, all using the same impossible technology that had baffled Empire scientists. Spy Master Cordon received the probe data and felt his blood turn cold. The humans weren't just technologically advanced. They had reshaped their entire star system. The terraforming of Mars alone should have taken thousands of years with Empire technology. The humans had done it in decades. How is this possible? He asked his chief analyst. Sir, based on the probe data, human technology is at least 1,000 years ahead of ours. They've solved problems we haven't even started working on. Cordain studied the images of floating cities on Venus. What about their population? How many humans are there? The probes estimate about 20 billion humans across all their worlds and stations. But, sir, there's something else. We're detecting similar energy signatures from other star systems. What do you mean? Human colonies, sir. We count at least 40 star systems with human settlements. They've been expanding across this entire region of space. The room fell silent. 40 human star systems meant hundreds of billions of people with access to impossible technology. The Empire had discovered not just a new species, but a growing interstellar civilization that could potentially challenge their dominance. On Mars, Dr. Su Young was working in her laboratory when she received a message from Earth's intelligence services. As humanity's leading expert on alien psychology, she had been asked to analyze the Empire's behavior. They're scared, she concluded after reviewing the intercepted communications. Their first contact went badly. And now they're trying to figure out if we're a threat. The problem is, the more they learn about us, the more scared they're going to get. Su Yung understood the Empire's position. For 2,000 years, they had been the dominant power in the galaxy. No one could challenge them. No one had technology that came close to theirs. Suddenly, they had discovered a species that made them look primitive. "We need to be very careful," she wrote in her report to Earth's government. "Cornered animals are dangerous, and the Empire is starting to feel cornered. If they decide we're too dangerous to exist, they might try to destroy us before we get any stronger." Back on the Empire capital world, emergency sessions were being held at the highest levels of government. The probe data had reached the ruling council and panic was setting in. "Look at these images," Councillor Raxthon said, projecting pictures of human cities floating in Venus's clouds. "They've mastered atmospheric engineering on a scale we can't imagine. If they wanted to, they could probably terraform our worlds in a matter of years." "That's not what worries me," said Councillor Lynn Ara. "Look at their industrial capacity. The asteroid belt operation could probably build 1,000 ships for everyone we can make." Councillor Vordan pointed to energy readings from the human ships. "Their power generation is incredible. A single human freighter produces more energy than one of our battleships." The council members looked at each other with growing fear. The humans weren't just advanced. They were advanced in every area that mattered. Their technology, their industry, their population, their expansion rate, everything suggested a civilization that could overwhelm the Empire if it chose to. "What are our options?" asked the council president. "We could try to negotiate a peaceful coexistence," Linera suggested. "Perhaps they would be willing to share some of their technology." "And if they refuse?" Raxathon demanded. "What if they decide they want our territory, our worlds? We couldn't stop them." "We don't know their intentions," Vordan pointed out. "They might be peaceful." "Can we afford to take that risk?" Raxthon asked. "Every day we wait, they get stronger. Every day we delay, their colonies grow larger." The argument continued for hours, but no clear solution emerged. The Empire was facing an impossible choice. Trust a superior alien species, or try to fight them before they became even stronger. Meanwhile, Spy Master Cordain was planning more intelligence operations. The surface probe data was useful, but he needed to know more about human military capabilities. He ordered deep space monitors to watch human ship movements and try to identify their military vessels. What he found made the situation even worse. Human ships didn't seem to have separate military and civilian designs. Their cargo vessels were as advanced as their exploration ships. Their passenger liners could probably outfight Empire battleships. "Sir," his chief analyst reported, "we've been watching human ship movements for 3 days. We can't identify any dedicated warships." "What do you mean?" "I mean they don't seem to need warships, sir. Every human ship we've observed has defensive systems that could defeat our best weapons. They're all effectively military vessels." Cordain felt sick. The Empire maintained massive fleets of specialized warships to defend their territory. The humans seemed to have integrated military-grade technology into every ship they built. They were a civilization where every civilian was potentially a soldier. The intelligence reports painted a picture of humanity that terrified Empire leaders. Humans were numerous, technologically superior, rapidly expanding, and apparently capable of turning any ship into a weapon of war. They represented everything the Empire feared in a potential enemy. As the probe data spread through Empire intelligence networks, fear began to infect every level of government. Military commanders worried about defending against enemies they couldn't hit. Politicians worried about maintaining power in the face of a superior civilization. Citizens worried about what would happen if the humans decided to expand into empire territory. The Empire had spent 2,000 years as the galaxy's dominant power. Now, in the space of a few days, they had discovered that their dominance was an illusion. Somewhere in the galaxy was a species that could sweep them aside without breaking stride. And worst of all, they still didn't know what. The Empire was falling apart. Not from invasion or war, but from fear and panic. News about human technology had leaked from military channels to civilian networks. Across hundreds of worlds, people were learning that their government had hidden the existence of a superior alien civilization. On the industrial world of Kepler Prime, riots broke out when workers learned that human technology could make their jobs obsolete overnight. On the trade hub of New Alexandria, stock markets crashed as investors realized that human manufacturing capabilities could destroy the Empire's economy. On the military fortress world of Titan's Gate, soldiers demanded to know why their leaders had kept such important information secret. Senator Dalrith stood before the emergency assembly and tried to maintain order. He was a member of the hegemony faction, the military-minded group that believed in Empire strength and expansion. Right now, he was terrified. "Citizens of the Empire," he said, his voice echoing through the vast chamber, "we face the greatest crisis in our history. We have discovered a species with technology far beyond our own. They have the power to destroy us, and we must act before they choose to use that power." The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives from dozens of species shouted questions and demands. Some wanted immediate military action. Others called for diplomatic solutions. A few suggested surrender and submission to human authority. "What do you propose we do?" called out Representative Killandra from the peaceful sanctuary worlds. "Attack them with weapons that can't hurt them? That's not a solution, that's suicide." Dalrith's skin flushed with anger. "We cannot simply wait for them to decide our fate. Every day we delay, they grow stronger. We need to strike while we still have a chance." "A chance to do what?" demanded Representative Yoxthor from the Merchant Coalition worlds. "Die gloriously? Our probe data shows they have 40 star systems. Even if we could destroy one human world, they would still have 39 left to destroy us with." Meanwhile, on a human research station orbiting a brown dwarf star, engineer Dong Hyun was working on a routine materials compression project. He didn't know that Empire spies were watching his work through hidden sensors. The project was simple, by human standards. Dong Hyun was trying to compress raw materials into a more efficient storage format for long-range transport. He loaded a cubic meter of iron ore into the compression chamber and activated the system. The iron ore disappeared. Where there had been a cube of rock weighing several tons, there was now a sphere the size of a marble. The marble contained the same amount of material, but compressed into a space thousands of times smaller. "Perfect," Dong Hyun said to his assistant. "The new compression ratio is exactly what we need for the colony supply run." The Empire spies watching through their hidden sensors couldn't believe what they had seen. Matter compression on that scale should have required energy equal to a small star. The humans had done it with a machine that looked like a simple laboratory device. "How much energy did that process require?" one spy asked another. "According to our readings, almost none. The humans are somehow compressing matter without using significant power. That's impossible. Our best compression technology can reduce volume by maybe 10%. These humans just reduced it by 1,000 times. And if they can compress matter that much, both spies realized the implications at the same time. Matter compression technology could be used to create incredibly dense projectiles. A compressed iron marble moving at high speed would have the destructive power of a nuclear weapon. The humans had just demonstrated the ability to turn any raw material into a weapon of mass destruction. The spy report reached Empire intelligence within hours. Spymaster Cordain read it 3 times before he believed it. They can turn rocks into planet killers, he told his staff. Any human ship carrying compressed cargo is essentially carrying enough weapons to destroy a world. Back on Earth, Dr. Su Young was monitoring Empire communications and growing more worried by the hour. The alien civilization was clearly in crisis. Their government was arguing about whether to attack humanity. Their military was demanding stronger weapons. Their people were demanding answers. "We're watching the collapse of galactic civilization," she wrote in her daily report. "The Empire has maintained order for 2,000 years through superior technology and military power. Now they've discovered they're not superior anymore, and their entire system is breaking down." Su Young understood the psychology involved. The Empire had built their identity around being the strongest, smartest, most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Learning that they were actually primitive compared to humans was like telling a mountain that it was actually a small hill. "They're going through the 5 stages of grief," she noted. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Right now, they're stuck between anger and bargaining. The dangerous part is that they might choose violence before they reach acceptance. On the Empire capital world, the emergency assembly was still in session. Hours of debate had produced no solutions, only more fear and anger. "We could offer to serve them," suggested Representative Pilanra from the spiritual conclave worlds. "If we acknowledge their superiority and pledge loyalty, they might allow us to continue existing." The chamber fell silent. The idea of the mighty galactic empire surrendering to anyone was unthinkable. For 2,000 years, other species had surrendered to them. "Never," Dalrith said firmly. "The Empire does not bow to aliens. We find a way to fight, or we die with honor." "Honor won't protect our families," Representative Yoxthor pointed out. "If the humans decide we're a threat, they could wipe out every world in the Empire before our fleets could even find them." "Then what do you suggest?" Dalrith demanded. "We negotiate. We offer them whatever they want in exchange for peaceful coexistence. And if what they want is our territory, our resources, our worlds, no one had an answer for that question." Meanwhile, on the human colony world of New Sol, Colonial Administrator In Suk was dealing with a much simpler problem. The colony's fusion reactors were running at 95% efficiency, and she wanted to improve that by 0.5%. "Can we adjust the magnetic containment field?" she asked the chief engineer. "We could, but it would require recalibrating the entire power grid." "Is 0.5% really worth the trouble?" In Suk nodded. "Every bit of efficiency helps. We're planning to expand the colony next year, and we'll need all the power we can get." The engineer shrugged and began the recalibration process. To them, it was routine maintenance. To the Empire spies monitoring their communications, it was another sign of human technological superiority. "They're treating fusion power like we treat chemical batteries," one spy reported. "Casual adjustments to systems that represent our most advanced technology." "How many fusion reactors do they have on that one colony world?" "At least 50, maybe more. And this is just a small agricultural colony." The implications were staggering. A single human colony had more power generation capacity than most Empire military bases. If humans could build fusion reactors as easily as the Empire built houses, their industrial capacity was essentially unlimited. Back in the emergency assembly, representatives were beginning to realize the hopelessness of their situation. Every new piece of information about human capabilities made resistance seem more futile. "Perhaps we should consider evacuation," suggested Representative Killandra. "We could move our people to the far rim of the galaxy, away from human expansion." And abandon 2,000 years of Empire history? Dalrith was horrified. "Give up our worlds, our achievements, everything we've built?" "Better to live as refugees than die as heroes," Yoxthor said bluntly. The debate was interrupted by an urgent message from the military. General Kexthor appeared on the main screen, his scarred face grim with determination. "Honored representatives," he said, "I bring news from our border scouts. Human ships have been detected moving toward Empire space. Their intentions are unknown, but we must assume they represent a threat." The chamber erupted in panic. The humans were coming. After days of debate and worry, the crisis was becoming real. "How many ships?" Dalreth demanded. "At least 12 detected so far, but our sensors can barely track them. There could be more that we can't see." "What are your recommendations, General?" Kexthor's expression was hard. "We mobilize the fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. If the humans want a war, we'll give them one." Representative Killandra stood up. "General, our own intelligence reports say that fighting the humans is impossible. Our weapons can't hurt them." "Then we'll find new weapons," Kexthor replied. "We'll use everything we have. Nuclear weapons, biological weapons, planet killers if necessary. We will not go quietly into extinction." The chamber fell silent. The Empire's greatest military leader was talking about desperate measures that could destroy entire worlds. The panic was driving them toward choices that would once have been unthinkable. Dr. Su Young, monitoring the Empire communications, felt sick as she heard the military plans. The aliens were so scared that they were considering genocide as a defense strategy. She immediately sent an emergency message to Earth's government. "The Empire is planning desperate military action. They're talking about using weapons of mass destruction. We need to establish contact immediately." General Kexthor stood in the war room of the Empire's highest military command. Around him, holographic displays showed the locations of every military asset in the galaxy. For 40 years, he had commanded the Empire's armies. He had conquered 17 worlds and put down countless rebellions. But he had never faced an enemy like the humans. "Status report," he demanded from his staff. "Sir," said his intelligence officer, "we have confirmed movement of human ships toward our border regions. At least 20 vessels detected, possibly more. Their speed makes accurate counting difficult." Kexthor studied the tactical displays. The human ships were moving faster than anything in the Empire fleet. If they were planning an attack, the Empire would have almost no warning. "What about the political situation?" he asked. "The emergency assembly is still debating, sir. No clear decision about how to respond to the human threat." Kexthor's claws scraped against the metal table. Politicians and their endless talking. While they debated, the humans were getting closer to Empire space. Every hour of delay made the situation worse. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "incoming priority message from Admiral Velthar." The Admiral's image appeared on the main screen. He looked tired and worried. "General, I've been monitoring human communications. They're planning something. Their military frequencies are active across all their territory. Are they preparing for war? Kexthor asked. Unknown, sir. Their communications are too advanced for us to decode, but the level of activity suggests major operations are planned. That decided it for Kexthor. He had spent his entire career defending the Empire against threats. He wasn't going to let it be destroyed while politicians argued about proper procedures. Admiral, I'm taking command of all military forces under Emergency Protocol 7. We're going to hit the humans before they can attack us. Sir, I should point out that our own intelligence report suggests that attacking the humans may be suicide. Maybe, Kexthor agreed. But waiting for them to attack us is definitely suicide. At least this way we choose the time and place. 3,000 light-years away, Admiral Tae Min received an urgent message on his personal communicator. He was Earth's highest-ranking military officer. Though the title was somewhat misleading, humanity had no real military in the traditional sense. Instead, they had a defense force that was more like a rescue service than an army. Admiral, the message read, Empire intelligence networks are showing massive military mobilization. All signs point to an attack against human colonies within the next few days. Please prepare appropriate defensive measures. Tae Min sighed. He had hoped that first contact with the Empire would go more smoothly. Instead, it seemed like the aliens were planning to start a war they couldn't win. He opened a communication, channeled to Earth's colonies. All settlements, this is Admiral Tae Min. We have reports of potential hostile action from the Galactic Empire. Activate defensive protocols and prepare for possible contact with alien military forces. The message went out to 40 human star systems. But unlike the Empire's massive military preparations, the human response was quiet and efficient. They didn't need to mobilize fleets or move weapons. Their defensive systems were always ready. On the agricultural world of New Busan, Colonial Defense Coordinator So Hee received the alert while she was inspecting the colony's fusion reactors. She walked to her office and activated the planetary defense grid with a few simple commands. Invisible energy fields surrounded the planet, ready to deflect any attack. Quantum sensors reached out into space, watching for approaching ships. The defense system was completely automated and could protect the colony from any known threat. Defense grid active, she reported to Earth Command. Colony New Busan ready for whatever comes. Similar reports came in from all the human worlds. Within 6 hours, humanity's entire civilization was protected by defensive systems that the Empire couldn't even detect, much less understand. General Kexthor was assembling the largest military force in Empire history. Every available ship was being called to the staging area. 12,000 warships from across the galaxy were gathering for the attack on human space. Sir, his logistics officer reported, the fleet assembly is proceeding on schedule. We'll have full strength in 18 hours. What about weapons? Kexthor asked. All ships are loaded with our most advanced armaments. Plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, fusion missiles, gravity bombs. If it exists in our arsenal, we're bringing it. Kexthor nodded grimly. The Empire's weapons could destroy planets and shatter stars. Surely they would be enough to deal with the humans, no matter how advanced their technology. But his science advisor looked worried. General, I feel I should remind you that our previous encounters suggest human defensive systems are beyond our current understanding. Our weapons may not be effective. Then we'll use more weapons, Kexthor replied. Quantity has a quality all its own. The massive Empire fleet began moving toward human space. 12,000 ships traveling in formation created a spectacle that could be seen from light years away. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. On Earth, Admiral Tae Min watched the approaching fleet through long-range sensors. The sight was impressive, even frightening. 12,000 ships armed with enough firepower to destroy hundreds of worlds. "Should we call for help from our allies?" asked his aide. Tae Min almost smiled. "What allies? We've been isolated for 50 years. It's just us against the Empire." "Sir, 12,000 ships is a lot. Are you sure our defenses can handle them?" "Let me show you something," Tae Min said. He activated a tactical display showing human defensive capabilities. Each of our colonies has a defense grid that can handle about 1,000 attacking ships. "We have 40 colonies. That means we can defend against 40,000 ships simultaneously. And they're only bringing 12,000. "Exactly. This isn't going to be a battle. It's going to be a demonstration." Engineer So-hee was making final adjustments to New Busan's defense systems when her sensors detected the Empire fleet. 12,000 ships moving in attack formation, heading straight for human space. "Computer," she said calmly, "identify the most likely target of the approaching fleet. Analysis indicates New Busan colony has a 73% probability of being the primary target. The colony's location makes it an ideal testing ground for human defensive capabilities." So he nodded. The Empire was being smart about this. They were going to test human defenses against a single target before committing to a larger attack. "Are our defenses ready?" "All systems operational. Quantum barriers at full strength. Reality anchors stable. Dimensional displacement generators. Charged and ready." "Good. When they arrive, give them a demonstration they'll never forget." General Kexthor stood on the bridge of his flagship as the fleet approached the first human colony. The world looked peaceful and undefended. No orbital fortresses, no defensive satellites, no military ships. Just a green planet with a few small cities. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting no defensive installations. The planet appears to be unprotected." Kexthor frowned. That didn't match the intelligence reports about human capabilities. Either the reports were wrong, or the humans were hiding their defenses. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "All ships, open. Fire on the planet's surface." 12,000 warships fired simultaneously. The combined firepower was enough to crack a planet's crust and boil away its atmosphere. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and fusion missiles streaked toward the peaceful world below, and every single weapon passed harmlessly through empty space. "What happened?" Kexthor demanded. "Sir, all weapons missed the target. Sensors show the planet is still there, but our targeting computers can't lock onto it." On New Busan's surface, Engineer So-hee watched the impressive light show overhead. The Empire's weapons were creating beautiful displays as they fired through space where the planet should be. "Computer, status of the reality displacement field? Operating at optimal efficiency. The planet is currently existing in a parallel dimensional space. Enemy weapons cannot affect targets in normal space-time." So he smiled. The humans had learned how to move their entire worlds out of normal space during combat. To outside observers, the planet would appear to be there, but weapons would pass right through it. "Sir," the Empire tactical officer was saying frantically, "recommend we try different weapons. Perhaps the plasma cannons?" "Fire everything," Kexthor ordered. "Every weapon we have." The Empire fleet unleashed its full arsenal. Weapons that could destroy moons and shatter asteroids fired continuously at the human colony. For 10 minutes, the space around New Busan was filled with enough destructive energy to sterilize a dozen worlds. None of it touched the planet. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking, "all weapons are ineffective. The target appears to be immune to physical attack." Kexthor stared at the peaceful world below. The humans hadn't even bothered to fire back. They were just sitting there, untouchable, making the Empire's mighty fleet look like children throwing rocks at the moon. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet. Put it through." Engineer. So he appeared on the main screen looking calm and friendly. Behind her, the colony's cities were clearly visible and undamaged. "Hello." General Kexthor stared at the tactical display showing his useless fleet. 12,000 ships, the pride of the Empire's military, floating helplessly around a planet they couldn't even touch. His career had been built on the idea that enough firepower could solve any problem. Now he was learning that some problems couldn't be solved with weapons. "Sir," his communications officer said nervously, "the human is waiting for an answer." Engineer Sohee was still on the main screen, looking patient and friendly. Her offer to explain human technology seemed genuine, but Kexthor suspected there was a deeper message. The humans were showing confidence, the kind that came from knowing you held all the advantages. "We did not come here to learn," Kexthor said finally. "We came to defend the Empire from a potential threat." "I understand," Sohee replied. "But I hope you can see that we're not actually threatening anyone. We're just defending ourselves. Your ships fired first." That was true, and it made Kexthor uncomfortable. The Empire had attacked without provocation, and the humans had responded by making them look foolish rather than destroying them. It wasn't the behavior he expected from a hostile enemy. "However," so he continued, "since you seem to need a demonstration of our capabilities, I'll show you what our offensive systems can do. Don't worry, no one will be hurt." Before Kexthor could respond, something impossible happened. One of his battleships, the Pride of Kepler, suddenly developed, a perfectly round hole through its center. The hole was 10 meters wide and went completely through the ship from top to bottom. "What happened to the Pride of Kepler?" he demanded. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, his voice shaking, "they appear to have drilled a hole through it, but there was no weapon signature, no energy beam, no projectile, nothing on our sensors." "Damage report from the Pride of Kepler." The ship's captain appeared on a secondary screen. "Sir, we have a hole through our ship, but no other damage. Systems are functioning normally, no casualties. It's like someone took a perfect cylinder out of our hull." Captain Ji-hoon was piloting his ship, the Gyeongju Wind, through the middle of the Empire fleet. His mission was to demonstrate human capabilities without actually hurting anyone. It was a delicate task that required precision and care. "Computer," he said, "select the next target. Something impressive but non-threatening. Recommended target, Empire command ship. Suggest removing a section of armor plating to show precision capabilities. Good choice. Make sure not to damage any critical systems." Ji-hoon's ship was invisible to Empire sensors. It existed partially outside normal space, allowing it to move through solid matter like a ghost. The Empire ships couldn't see him coming, couldn't track his movements, and couldn't predict where he would strike next. The human weapon was unlike anything in the Empire's experience. Instead of destroying matter, it simply moved it elsewhere. The displaced material was transported to empty space far away, leaving clean holes that sealed themselves automatically. General Kexthor watched in horror as more of his ships developed mysterious holes. The human weapon was surgically precise, removing sections of armor, weapon systems, and sensor arrays without damaging anything else. It was like watching a doctor perform surgery on his fleet. "Sir," his science officer reported, "I'm analyzing the attack pattern. The humans are systematically disabling our weapons and sensors while leaving life support and engines intact. Why would they do that? I believe they're demonstrating that they could destroy us completely if they chose to, but they're choosing not to." The implications hit Kexthor like a physical blow. The humans weren't trying to win a battle, they were giving a lesson in power. They were showing that his mighty fleet was so outmatched that they could toy with it rather than destroy it. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving transmissions from the human ship that's attacking us." Captain Ji-hoon appeared on the screen. He was young and looked almost apologetic. "General Kexthor, I hope you understand that this is just a demonstration. We could disable your entire fleet in about 10 minutes if we wanted to. But we prefer to make our point gradually." "How are you doing this?" Kexthor demanded. "We call it dimensional phasing," Ji-hoon explained. "Our weapons exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We can choose which dimension to affect and which to leave alone. In your case, we're only affecting the dimension that contains your weapons and sensors." "That's impossible." Ji-hoon smiled. "A lot of things seem impossible until you understand the science behind them. For example, your ships exist in 3 spatial dimensions plus time. We've learned to work with 11 dimensions. It gives us many more options." While Ji-hoon was explaining human technology, scientist In-Soo was broadcasting on all Empire communication frequencies. His job was to make sure every ship in the fleet understood what they were witnessing. "Empire fleet," he said in a calm, professorial voice, "what you're experiencing is a demonstration of dimensional manipulation technology. We can selectively phase matter in and out of normal space-time. This allows us to move through solid objects, make ourselves untouchable to conventional weapons, and strike targets that should be unreachable. Your defensive systems are designed for 3-dimensional warfare. We operate in 11 dimensions." General Kexthor listened to the explanation with growing despair. The humans weren't just superior. They were operating on a completely different level of physics. It was like trying to fight gods with stone spears. "Empire ships," In-Soo continued. "Please note that we have selectively disabled your weapons while leaving your life support systems intact. This demonstrates our ability to choose exactly what we affect. We could have chosen differently." The message was clear. The humans could have killed everyone in the fleet just as easily as they had disabled the weapons. They were showing mercy, not weakness. "Sir," Kexthor's tactical officer reported, "all weapon systems fleet-wide are non-functional. Sensors are operating at 10% efficiency. The humans have effectively disarmed us." Kexthor looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at their instruments in shock and confusion. The pride of the Empire's military had been reduced to helpless observers in less than an hour. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "the humans are offering to restore our weapons if we agree to withdraw from their space." The offer was both generous and humiliating. The humans were so confident in their superiority that they were willing to give the Empire fleet its weapons back, knowing it wouldn't matter. Engineer So-hee appeared on the main screen again. "General, I hope this demonstration has been educational. We want you to understand that we have no intention of attacking the Empire. We're quite happy to leave you alone if you leave us alone. But," she continued, "we also want you to understand that attacking us is pointless. We can defend ourselves against any force you can bring to bear, and we can retaliate in ways you can't imagine." "What do you want from us?" Kexthor asked. Nothing, so he replied. We want to be left in peace to develop our civilization. We're not interested in conquering anyone or taking anyone's territory. We just want to exist without being attacked. The simplicity of the demand made it even more powerful. The humans didn't want tribute or submission or territory. They just wanted to be left alone. It was a reasonable request from a position of overwhelming strength. Captain Ji-hoon's ship appeared next to the Empire flagship, no longer hidden from sensors. The vessel was sleek and elegant, about half the size of an Empire battleship, but clearly far more advanced. General, Ji-hoon said, we're prepared to withdraw from this system if you'll agree to take your fleet back to Empire space. We'll also restore your weapons and sensors once you've begun your withdrawal. And if we refuse? Then we'll disable your engines too, and leave you floating here until you change your minds. The threat was delivered politely, but Kexthor knew it wasn't a bluff. The humans had just demonstrated they could do whatever they wanted to his fleet. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving urgent messages from Empire Command. They're ordering immediate withdrawal. Kexthor wasn't surprised. The battle was being monitored by sensors throughout Empire space. Every military leader in the galaxy was watching the Empire's greatest fleet being helplessly defeated by a handful of human ships. Very well, he said finally. Empire fleet, prepare for withdrawal. All ships return to Empire space immediately. Excellent choice, so he said approvingly. We'll restore your weapons once you're clear of our territory. As the Empire fleet began its humiliating retreat, Kexthor realized that everything had changed. The Empire's military supremacy was over. They would have to find new ways to exist in a galaxy where they were no longer the strongest power. On the bridge of the Gyeongju Wind, Captain Ji-hoon watched the Empire ships depart. Think they learned their lesson? He asked his crew. I hope so, his navigator replied. I'd rather not have to do this again. Don't worry, Ji-hoon said. Word of this will spread throughout the Empire. Everyone will know that attacking humans is a waste of time and resources. As the last Empire ship disappeared into hyperspace, the human fleet began to disperse. The demonstration was over, and it had been a complete success. The Empire now understood exactly what they were dealing with. But scientist In-Su was all ready. 6 months after the failed Empire attack, Ambassador Hai-wan stood in the gardens of the New Geneva Peace Center on Earth. Through the transparent dome overhead, she could see ships from across the galaxy arriving for the most important diplomatic conference in galactic history. The Empire had requested formal negotiations after their military defeat. What had started as a crisis was now becoming an opportunity to reshape how different species interacted across the galaxy. Ambassador, her aide said, the Empire delegation has arrived. They're requesting a private meeting before the formal sessions begin. Hai-wan nodded. She had expected this. The Empire needed to save face after their humiliating defeat, and private talks would let them negotiate without appearing weak in front of other species. Ambassador Zixandra looked tired as she entered the meeting room. The months since first contact had been difficult for the Empire. Political upheaval, economic uncertainty, and social unrest had followed the revelation of human superiority. Ambassador Hai-wan, she said formally, I thank you for agreeing to these talks. The Empire hopes we can find a path to peaceful coexistence. That's what we want too, Hai-wan replied. Humans have no interest in ruling other species or taking territory that belongs to the Empire. We just want to coexist peacefully. Zixandra looked relieved. The Empire leadership was concerned that humans might demand tribute or submission after demonstrating your military superiority. "We're not conquerors," Haiwan said simply. "We're explorers and builders. We want to create things, not destroy them." The formal negotiations began the next day. Representatives from hundreds of Empire worlds gathered in the Great Assembly Hall. They came expecting to negotiate terms of surrender. Instead, they found humans offering partnership. Dr. Kyung-soo, Earth's leading physicist, stood before the assembled delegates. His job was to explain the basic principles behind human technology, something the Empire's scientists desperately wanted to understand. The key breakthrough, he explained, was learning to work with higher dimensions. Your science operates in 3 spatial dimensions plus time. We've learned to manipulate 11 dimensions simultaneously. This allows us to do things that seem impossible in 3-dimensional space. We can move matter between dimensions, exist in multiple dimensional states at once, and manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. A Kronar scientist raised his hand. "How did you discover these additional dimensions?" "Actually, we didn't discover them," Kyung-soo admitted. "We created them. About 60 years ago, we learned how to add new dimensions to local space-time. It's like adding new rooms to a house." The implications stunned the Empire delegates. Humans hadn't just mastered advanced physics. They had rewritten the laws of reality in their local space. "The process is very energy-intensive," Kyung-soo continued. "It took us 20 years to modify the space around our solar system, but once the additional dimensions exist, they're stable and self-sustaining." Counselor Raxthon, leader of the Aus militant hegemony faction, looked troubled. "Are you saying that human space operates under different physical laws than the rest of the galaxy?" "In a way, yes. In human space, 11-dimensional physics is possible. In normal space, you're limited to 4 dimensions. Could you modify other star systems the same way?" Kyung-soo nodded. "We could, but it would take decades of work for each system, and we'd only do it with the permission of any existing inhabitants." This revelation changed everything. The Empire had assumed that human technology could be copied or stolen. Now they learned that it only worked in specially modified space that took decades to create. Ambassador Haiwan watched the Empire delegates absorb this information. She could see the mixture of relief and disappointment on their faces. Relief that humans couldn't instantly transform Empire space for military purposes. Disappointment that they couldn't quickly gain access to human technology. "However," she said, "we're prepared to offer modified technology that will work in normal space. It won't be as advanced as what we use in human space, but it will still represent significant improvements over current Empire technology." The negotiations continued for weeks. Slowly, a new framework for galactic civilization emerged. Humans would share selected technologies with the Empire over a period of 50 years. The sharing would be gradual, allowing Empire society to adapt without too much disruption. In return, the Empire would guarantee human territorial sovereignty and help establish trade relationships with other galactic species. "We're not looking to replace the Empire," Haiwan explained to the assembled delegates. "We want to work with you to create a better galaxy for everyone." The agreement established several key principles that would guide future relations. First, no species would be forced to accept human technology. The sharing would be voluntary and gradual. Second, humans would not interfere in Empire internal affairs unless specifically requested to help. Third, Both civilizations would work together to explore the unknown regions of the galaxy and establish peaceful contact with any new species they encountered. Fourth, a joint council would be established to coordinate cooperation and resolve any disputes. The signing ceremony took place in the Great Assembly Hall. Representatives from every major empire world were present, along with human delegates and observers from several minor species that had been watching the negotiations nervously. Ambassador Zixandra signed for the Empire with hands that shook slightly. The document she was signing ended 2,000 years of Empire dominance and began a new era of shared galactic leadership. This treaty, she said in her formal address, marks the beginning of a new age. The Empire has learned that strength comes not from dominating others, but from working together for common goals. Ambassador Hai Wan signed for humanity with a steady hand. We look forward to a future where all species can thrive and grow together, she said. The galaxy is vast enough for everyone, but the real work was just beginning. Dr. Kyung-soo established the Technical Exchange Institute, where Empire scientists could learn the principles behind human technology. The learning process would take decades, but it would eventually transform Empire civilization. The first technology transfers were simple but revolutionary. Human medical techniques that could regenerate damaged organs, energy systems that were 90% more efficient than Empire fusion reactors, manufacturing processes that could create materials with impossible properties. On the Empire world of Centauri Prime, engineer Dalvok installed the first human-designed fusion reactor. The device was smaller than Empire reactors, but produced 10 times more power. "How does it work?" asked his assistant. "I'm not entirely sure," Dalvok admitted. "The humans say it uses something called dimensional resonance, but our physics textbooks don't cover that. Should we be worried about using technology we don't understand?" "The humans have been very careful about safety," Dalvok replied. "Every system they've shared includes automatic safeguards that prevent dangerous failures." It was true. Human technology transfers included built-in safety systems that made accidents nearly impossible. The humans were being very careful to avoid giving the Empire anything that could be dangerous if misused. Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of New Busan, engineer So-hee was working with Empire scientists to develop improved farming techniques. The collaboration was going well, though the cultural differences sometimes created amusing problems. "The soil conditioning process requires precise timing," she explained to her Empire colleagues. "You have to add the nutrients exactly when the dimensional field is at peak strength." "How do we detect the dimensional field?" asked the lead Empire scientist. "Your instruments can't detect it directly," So-hee admitted. "You'll have to rely on the automated systems we've provided." It was frustrating for Empire scientists to work with technology they couldn't fully understand. But the results were undeniable. Crops grown with human techniques produced 3 times more food and were resistant to diseases that had plagued Empire agriculture for centuries. The cultural exchange was just as important as the technology transfer. Human students studied at Empire universities, learning about alien history and philosophy. Empire students visited human worlds, marveling at societies that had learned to live in harmony with advanced technology. On Earth, young Empire diplomat Kil Thara was studying human government structures. She was amazed by how humans had maintained democratic institutions even with access to technology that could control minds or predict the future. "How do you prevent the misuse of your advanced technology?" she asked her human mentor. "We have very strong ethical traditions," the mentor explained, and our technology includes safeguards that prevent certain types of misuse. But mostly, we've learned that using power wisely is more important than having power. The transformation of galactic civilization was gradual but profound. The Empire's rigid hierarchy began to soften as they learned from human examples of cooperation and consensus building. Trade relationships flourished as improved technology made interstellar commerce more efficient. But perhaps the most important change was psychological. For 2,000 years, the Empire had seen the galaxy as a place where strength determined survival. Now they were learning to see it as a place where cooperation could create prosperity for everyone. One year,